Welcome to Lifestyle Matters. I'm Marilyn Moore. Spring is upon us, which means lawn care, blooming, flowers, you name it. However, oftentimes we're using pesticides and fertilizers that are contaminating our groundwaters, which is why we have Alan here from the Fresno Metropolitan Flood Control District, and he's going to give us some simple tips on what we can do to prevent groundwater pollution. Alan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, why are pesticides and fertilizers contaminating our groundwater?
Well, most of them have chemicals in them that are just harmful to our groundwater table, and much of the runoff, as we've talked before, goes into our groundwater, our ponding basins, and percolates down to the groundwater. And so if those pollutants are soluble and connected to the water molecules, we can't filter them out of the soil, and they could end up down in our groundwater table. So it's important to not over-fertilize your yards or over-water them such that it's running off into the streets and into our ponding basins.
Now, how do we prevent overwatering?
So it's really being mindful of your watering timing and how you're watering your lawns. A lawn needs about an inch of water a week, and so if a person were to, instead of putting 1 inch on right away, do different type of cycles on your lawn. So you do it a few minutes over various periods of time so no water's running out into the street.
I know I always struggle with this issue. You know, obviously we don't get too much rain, but when we do, should we be turning off our sprinklers? Because I mean, that's overwatering, right? Yeah,
certainly there's no reason to water lawns when there's a chance of rain. Well, you know, we have a chance of rain, and so you would think you should go turn off that sprinkler and not water if nature's going to do it for us.
Not often, but when it does, we should be turning that off. Now, to prevent watering altogether, are there different alternatives? I know we could do some drought-resistant, drought plants or drought-resistant gardening?
Yeah, there's certainly a water-conscious landscape that many people are putting in. Artificial turf is one that obviously takes no water to keep it looking green. It's naturally done that. Or just putting different types of drought-tolerant plants in your landscape.
That would prevent it altogether, right?
Pretty much so, it would.
And we also have Dolores with us, who is a master gardener, the perfect person to speak to. Dolores, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Now, what do these fertilizers and pesticides have in there that, you know, we should be conscious of when we're looking at the labels?
It's not easy for the everyday person to know what chemicals are bad. The important thing is that when they're purchasing a pesticide or a fertilizer, that they look carefully at the ingredients and then also read the instructions and follow them carefully. Some products are also identified on store shelves as less toxic, and that's a very important thing to look for too. After applying the fertilizer or the insecticide, it's important that people dispose of the remaining amount in a proper manner. And there are websites and resources that you can find that will tell you where you can go to dispose of, to take your chemicals.
Now, everything's blooming. What are these types of bugs that we are seeing right now?
Well, this time of the year, the primary things that are bothering plants and plant owners are aphids and probably snails and slugs. Aphids tend to grow they feed on fresh growth. So if you're over fertilizing, as Alan mentioned, the plants are going to really pop, and the aphids are attracted to that fresh new growth. Aphids are protected by ants. So if you can eliminate your ant problems, you'll have less issues with aphids. One way to remove aphids is to take your gloved hand and just kind of go up the stem of a rose and wash it off. You can also just apply a strong stream of water to wash them off. And if all else fails, there are products that can be used. But some of those products, if they're applied directly to the plant, will endanger the beneficial insects, like pollinators and those kinds of things.
And that's a lot going on right there. So we need to follow directions, not just skim them over. Clearly, that's what we need to do.
Right. Read the directions, follow them carefully, and either store or dispose of your pesticides in the most proper manner.
Great. And one last thing, where can we find some more information?
So FresnoMetroH2O.com. We have all the information there on that website that was created to help out with this.
Great. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Dolores. We've been talking about fertilizers and pesticides and how overwatering your lawn can lead to groundwater pollution. I'm Marilyn Moore, and you're watching Lifestyle Matters.